All right. Mexico, as we are talking about the border, you have to understand that this is much, much deeper than just people coming across our border. And if you're paying attention to this, you'll understand that Mexico right now is under siege, and it has been under siege for a while. Its soul is being tested by flames that just refuse to die and are growing stronger and stronger and stronger every day that goes by. Mexico is in this chokehold, and it is far uglier than people realize. I want to tell you the story about a ranch. This ranch, just outside of a quiet village, where volunteers, regular people, parents, family members, just looking for their brothers or sisters, their missing kids, dug into the dirt and found hell. What they found were 3 underground ovens, and they are still reeking of burnt flesh. Hundreds and hundreds of bone fragments, skulls, teeth, fingers, just scattered like trash. We've seen this before, but never in this hemisphere. They found over 700 personal things, shoes, a kid's toy, a woman's scarf. And it wasn't some random dump. The cartels that were once defined just by their drug trade, cocaine, methamphetamines, fentanyl, tools of death, now have transcended their origins, and they have become something far, far darker. A force that just doesn't merely profit from the chaos, but thrives on death. In Mexico, we've known this for a long time, but this is the first time in my career I've been able to actually point to the evidence that has been verified by multiple sources now. What's happening is the drug cartels are abducting the vulnerable and luring them with false promises of work, and then they ensnare them in a cycle of violence. This ranch, this one ranch, some survivors who got out in time said that men were coerced into service, trained in torture and brutality, and if they don't go along with it or their purpose, wanes, they're reduced to the ashes in the ovens. And the scope is staggering. 120,000 are missing. And that number is going up every single day. Now, how come we don't know about this site? Well, it was discovered by volunteers because authorities acted on previous and prior knowledge. They came in, they found it, and then they did nothing. They walked away. The government knew about it, raided the place, and walked away, and nothing changed. So that's why the volunteers, the families, went in themselves, because the fires just kept burning. Now imagine being a Mexican citizen. This is happening around you in your community. Your kids are missing, and nobody's doing. This is worse, I think, than what's happening in Great Britain, where kids are being abducted and just sold into slavery for these Islamic radicals. So we've known that there's beheadings. We've known there's massacres. But also beyond all of that is a profound loss of identity. Families are left with no closure, no graves to mourn, just the echoes of their loved ones' absence and questions, and a government that will do nothing. This weekend when I read about the 200 pairs of shoes, I thought about standing in that room in Auschwitz with all the big pile of shoes. But those were dusty and old and from another century, another time. This is happening now. Entire communities fade as sons and daughters just vanish, taken from the streets or lured away. And their fate is sealed in places just like this. You see, the cartels now are operating with industrial precision. Their clandestine crematoriums are turning people's lives into absolute hellscapes. And while our government remains silent on this, I believe our government has helped these cartels get richer and even more powerful. I want to ask you a really tough question. Do you really think that this stuff is happening and our CIA, our FBI, our intelligence agencies didn't know anything about this? It's on our border. Our American citizens have been kidnapped and abducted and lost. We knew nothing about this? If that's true, all those people need to be fired. Of course they knew about this. And are you telling me that we shouldn't care about what's happening on our border when we have a judge that is saying we can't send these horrific gangs back to Venezuela? People that the government of Venezuela took out of prison, trained, and sent here to America. We shouldn't care about this? Of course we should. And every single American knows it. And if you don't know it, you're burying your head. The Mexican government at this point has got to be complicit. We know it is. I mean, if you're in the police or military and you want to fight this, you're either overwhelmed and live in a world of fear and are silenced, or you're dead. So who fights these guys? Well, let me tell you one of the worst parts of this story. At the heart of this horror looms Santa Muerte. That you might not know, but you probably seen before and didn't know what it was, maybe. It's a skeletal figure known as Holy Death. It's not a Catholic symbol. It has been perverted and made into people that don't know into a Catholic. But it is, I mean, to the uninitiated, you go down to Mexico, you might buy one of these statues and be like, oh, look, this is Mexico's underworld. And she is a deity of immense sway. She's an evil, evil figure. And when God is dead, man will find a new one. And the Mexican underworld, the cartels, they found their new god. And it is evil. In those crematoriums stood 28 little statues of her, staring at the ovens, because she's their protector. She's their edge. She wears robes of black and red, and she's revered as a protector, a grantor of power to those who just kill without any hesitation. Evil? Yeah. These cartels have been worshiping her, and it's rooted in ancient traditions and warped by modern desperation. And it has surged alongside the cartel's rise. It is evil. What's happening there is evil. And shrines are marking their strongholds, altars in their hideouts, prayers carved into jail cells. She's tied right directly to the killing. They light candles. They spill blood on altars, all to keep her on their side. And the blood seals their allegiance and their people's fate in Mexico. Again, imagine you're a citizen of Mexico and this is going on, and you know it's going on. You can't say anything. You can't call for help. There's nobody that will help you, because anybody who said they would help you is dead. By the way, if that's not bad enough, she's also joined by other shadowy figures like a spirit of the crossroads. It's another evil idol that was there as well, mixing into this black spiritual brew. The people who got out said this is right out of the Japanese or German concentration camps from World War II. It's a training ground, torture lessons, target practice, and then to the ovens. And the people, man, they are caught in a nightmare nobody is talking about. I mean, is this the first time you're hearing about this? I hope not, but I bet it is for many. Nobody wants to talk about this stuff. It's too dark. It's too scary. But this is exactly the kind of stuff Christians should be confronting right now. What's happening on the border is not just moral for what we're doing to people. Let the slaves work our lawns. It's not just that. This is something so much more. We are standing up against evil. And the families aren't just losing somebody. They're losing everything. The 200 pairs of shoes piled up. The kids vanishing from the bus stops. And the cartels just keep grinding. It's not random. It is a system. And it's all tied to these secret crematoriums. By the way, did I tell you 6 more were just found? Bones, ash, gone. This isn't about drugs. This isn't about superstition. This, again, like everything in today's world, is all about power. And the cartels are not gangs, they're machines, and they are eating Mexico alive. They are organized, they're everywhere, and they have no limits. They train killers, burn the evidence, and lean on this evil faith to keep going. People for a long time have been digging with faith and hope. Now they're having to dig with shovels, and the government is no help. And Santa Muerte is watching, and the ovens are humming, and the bones keep piling up. That is the truth about Mexico today. That is Mexico, not a failed state, not a drug state, but a collection of people living and dying in the grip of real evil. I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but Mexico's not exactly a vacation spot anymore. It is a place where the dead don't rest and the living just can never escape. More in a minute. Once upon a time in this country, the American cowboy drove millions a head of cattle across vast ranges. If you saw distant, slowly rising clouds of dust, if you heard on the air and felt the ground kind of move, you knew they were out there somewhere nearby. These are some of the most important people in America we had because they were feeding America. And these days, things are a little bit different. The world has shrunk. Most of the beef you're buying in the grocery store now comes from overseas. The American farmer, the American rancher, the American cowboy is fading slowly into a dim and distant past, and we can't let that happen. Not because of the old-timey things, but because we cannot lose the ability to feed our own people. And we won't lose that if good ranchers can help. They only work with American farmers and American ranches to bring high-quality American meats right to your table. Good Ranchers is still celebrating the life and work of the cowboy with beef and chicken and pork raised and slaughtered right here. The fish, the shrimp, all harvested in the Gulf of America. In fact, their bags, I just saw it, they just got permission, and they've just now printed on their bags for shrimp directly from the Gulf of America. Visit goodranchers.com. Use the promo code Beck and claim your $25 off and free meat in every box for a year. That's promo code Beck at goodranchers.com. That's goodranchers.com. American meat delivered. 10 seconds, station ID.
Dark way to start the show.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
We're going to get to some of the other things, that are light, but this one's been really weighing on me for the last few days.
And this is going on at our border. This isn't related to the flights that were
No, but I think it's related to the president saying we've got to get these gangs out of here, the ones from Venezuela. And now this judge coming out, you can't do that. You don't have a right to do it. Yes, he does. He absolutely has a right. He is the commander in chief. And if there is an invasion, it is the commander-in-chief's job to take care of it. It is his job to take care of an invasion.
This is this different though than Tren de Aragua?
Yeah,
I like
it is.
Santa Muerte.
Yes.
I like these words.
So, do you?
It's
I
fun.
hate them.
Mm-hmm.
They're no, they are separate.
Yeah,
but I think they're of the same dark world. You know,
there's a political element to that whole thing with the flights too. It's like, they're putting the Democrats in a position to argue for these people to be returned, and it's like, really, you want to? Is that what you want to do? You want to argue for rapists and murderers to be returned to the United States? I mean, you can do that if you wish. That's there for you. That option's there.
Donald Trump used to say, these are some of the worst people coming over across the border. No, I don't. I think that's a wild understatement now. When you see what actually was coming over our border, these gangs from Venezuela, they're just diabolical. The cartels in Mexico, now with what we know, truly diabolical again. You've got people like they're trying to deport the guy from Columbia University. The guy's on a green card. It says on the green card, this can be revoked at any time, no questions asked. I mean, we're allowing you to stay in here. We'll revoke that at any time. And yet this one judge trying to say no. Look who the left is supporting now. You have the Venezuelan gangs who just took over condominiums and apartment buildings in Colorado, just took them over and ruled by fear. Then you have those guys.
It's only a few, though.
Yeah. Then you have the guys up in our universities, the one we're shipping out right now. You're standing up for a guy who says kill all the Jews? Really? And means it. And then you're also saying we shouldn't worry about what's happening on our border. When, forget about Mexico, Americans have lost their children to these cartels where they've just been down and just disappeared. Now think of how many people, 120,000 Mexicans have just disappeared. And we shouldn't care about that? What kind of monsters are we dealing with? And I mean political monsters here in America. I hate to make you into that if you happen to disagree, because we can disagree on an awful lot of things, and that doesn't make you a monster. It doesn't make me a monster. But if you refuse to look at how evil this is, how many people are trapped in a life of prostitution at best, it's evil. It's evil.
This is Glenn Beck.
All right, I'm not just a radio guy. I think you probably think I just live here in the studio and they let me out for meals and snacks, but the truth is I have a life outside of these four walls. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I spend time thinking about what I'm leaving behind to my family, just like you do. And one of the reasons I'm happy to be partnering with Lear Capital is because I think you should be thinking about these things as well. None of us are going to have anything to leave our children if this continues. And the dollar, I told you yesterday, they're getting more countries are saying, I think we're getting out of the petrodollar. When that happens, because we're not a gold-backed currency anymore. We're oil-backed currency. When you have these big companies or these big countries and China is moving in this direction, that means that our money isn't used all over the world, and that means our money just falls apart. You should be putting a portion of anything that you have, maybe 10%, just into precious metals. Not all of it. Just build a little safety net against chaos. Call Lear Capital today, 800-957-GOLD. Get your free $4,200 gold report when you call 800-957-GOLD. 800-957-GOLD.
Save $30 on Blaze TV right now by going to blazetv.com/Glenn and using the promo code Glenn.
All right, an update on the Houthi terrorists. By the way, we're going to get to the JFK stuff next hour. The U.S. continued striking the Houthis yesterday in, Yemen, wherever, or is where the Houthis are from, right? We all care, right? We all care. We care deeply. Anyway, President Trump blamed Iran directly. He said, quote, any further attack or retaliation by the Houthis are going to be met with great force. Every shot fired will be looked upon as being shot and fired by Iran. Iran will be held responsible and suffer the consequences, and the consequences are going to be dire. Now, there's unconfirmed reports that the United States had sunk one of Iran's most advanced naval ships. You say that, I have a hard time saying that with a straight face. I can't even imagine what it... As of now, this is unconfirmed, but it's perhaps a warning of where this could escalate. Meanwhile, the ceasefire in Gaza is over. Israel began re-attacking Gaza last night. Additional strikes in Lebanon and in Syria. Everything is aimed right directly towards Iran. We've said this for a long time. Iran is the head of the snake. You want this to stop, you've got to stop Iran. And Donald Trump is just doing it by saying, you send any kind of missiles towards us, and that this will be a larger war for you, Iran. But they are on the ropes. Iran is on the ropes. But if this war escalates, Iran is going to be the primary target, and this is where all the roads in this conflict leads back to. Hamas. It's Iran. Hezbollah, it's Iran. The Syrians, it's Iran. All of it is Iran. And they have the ability to strike at American soldiers all throughout the Middle East. Also, meanwhile, there's a South American Hamas-like organization waging war all over the Americas, right on our southern border. The Mexican drug cartels. Look at, as I was thinking about this story, if you look at the drug cartels and what the story I just told you, again, that's not some conspiracy theory. That's in every source I could find, from The Blaze, Daily Wire to the Washington Post and New York Times. That is a confirmed story about what's happening down on our southern border. And have you noticed that the cartels are really similar to Hamas and Hezbollah? I mean, the Iranian, the Venezuelan groups, they have Iranian-backed network south of the border. They are operating almost exactly the same. Use of terror tactics, beheadings, propaganda, media manipulation, even the master use of tunnels. It's all the same. And both Hamas and Mexican cartels spreading violence on social media, intimidating the public with acts of brutality. Hamas uses kidnappings, rape, and executions. Mexican cartels operate concentration-style execution camps deep within Mexico. They also use kidnappings, rape, and execution, beheadings. I mean, it is the same evil. I don't care what you call it. I don't care what flag they're flying. It is exactly the same evil. It's almost like the same evil princes, separated by distance from their various principalities, but they're all working in lockstep. Isn't that interesting? Evil is evil. And I've been saying this for a while, and I know you feel this too. I mean, we are facing evil. That's what we realize. We're not fighting men. We're not fighting flesh and bone. We're not fighting the Democrats, and the Democrats aren't fighting the Republicans, and the independents aren't fighting both of them. This is really a fight of good versus evil. Evil recognizes evil, and it works together. How do you get these crazy transgender groups that are militant about changing your children's sexuality, which I think is evil? How is it they are marching for Hamas? They're going to be the first to go. How is that possible? Well, it's possible because evil recognizes evil, I think. So which one do you handle first? We're over there securing the waterways, and one of my staff came to me yesterday and said, I just did some research with Grok, and we're securing the waterways in Yemen. And so he said, I asked, which countries are benefiting from this? Have you ever wondered who's affected most by the ship attacks in the Middle East? What would you say it is? It's just a product. What's the product that's most affected by any of that, in the Middle East?
Yeah. Obviously, energy exports would be big.
So who is the one that, what countries are the most affected?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, China, number one, with $9.6 billion. Saudi Arabia, $5.76 billion. Germany, $3.84 billion. Japan, $3 billion. South Korea, $2.5 billion. We're not even in the top 5. And yet, why are we the ones doing all the police work here? The 5 corporations that will benefit the most from keeping those waterways open, which we are responsible, we're doing it. This is, I think, Donald Trump's point. Where the hell is the rest of the world? A.P. Mueller, I don't know that one. Mediterranean Shipping Company, BP, Shell is the first one. That's number 4. And CMA, CGM. I don't even know what that one is. Wait a minute. Again. Now, I know it'll affect our prices because, everything is connected.
Market, of course.
But where are the countries that are affected the most by this? Do they even bat an eye? Are they willing? Are they even standing up and going, hey, we're going to pitch in on this? No. We come in, and honestly, Donald Trump has said this for years, and he's right. The world takes us for suckers. We're just taken advantage of. Oh, they'll do it. Because we always do, because it's the right thing to do. Or is it? Is it? We've gotten involved in so many things, and yet we stay out of so many things that directly affect us. This stuff on the border, that directly affects us. Venezuelan gangs, they're ravaging our cities, execution camps, exterminate people in Mexico. Millions of Americans are dying because of the drug overdose that they smuggled the drugs from China into the United States through Mexico. Our people are dying. When do you think the rest of the world can start pulling its own weight? Can we maybe not run into another war that other countries have more to gain, and they can fight it themselves and not us? Donald Trump has a phone call with Putin today. How do you think that's going to go? What are we expecting from that? I think this is a testing ground for the end of an era. Is NATO still at war with the Soviet Union? Or are we finally going to say, no, NATO's not at war with the Soviet Union? The Soviet Union collapsed. Why won't Europe take the lead and push for peace? Do they even want peace? Honestly, do they even want peace? Because it doesn't seem like they do. The answer, like in the Middle East, everybody knows we'll come. Everybody knows we'll come. We'll spend our blood, our money, and do their jobs for them. And I'm sick of it. I don't want any more of that. I don't think anybody wants any more of that. I know the left never wanted any of that. But now, suddenly, because the Republicans and the conservatives and everybody else has woken up and said, wow, really don't like this whole war machine that we've done because, boy, is that not turning out in our favor. It's just destroying countries and lives and killing people and killing our economy. No, I don't want any of that. I don't want any of that. Now, suddenly, I guess because Donald Trump is on your side, you have to be against it. I don't get it. And when does all of this stop? I mean, isn't it about time that we focus? We can't keep doing this. I don't know. I hope that Donald Trump can be helpful for the other nations of the world to realize, they actually exist. They're closer to the problem. Their economies suffer more than ours does. They're directly in line. We're not. We're secondhand in some of this stuff. We will be affected, but only because your country didn't get the whatever to build the whatevers that we buy. I don't know. I hope that phone call goes very, very well tomorrow because it is It's not good. You know, I was looking at what Canada charges us. Everybody's like, poor Canada. Oh, geez. Oh, Canada. It must suck so much. When we look at Canada and we're like, why are we picking on Canada? I don't know. Have you actually looked at what they charge us? If you look at what they're actually charging us for all of the stuff that we try to send their way, that we try to sell them, it's outrageous. I mean, sucker doesn't even begin to describe it. I'll go through it here in just a second. Let me go to Carlos in Georgia. Hello, Carlos. Welcome to the Glenn Beck program.
Glenn, good morning.
Hey.
Yes, I want to make a comment. The collusion and the corruption between the government and the criminals or cartels has been running in Mexico for more than probably 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
However, the last couple of years has been really, really bad. The last president allowed the cartels just to grow, and he never did anything. So there is a lot of problems in Mexico, but there is hope, and the hope is named President Trump. When he said, he called the cartels terrorist enterprises, then he can send the military. And believe me, there is people in Mexico praying, hoping that he sends the military and then kills all these criminals. The second thing that he needs to do, and I hope it happens, he knows who in the government is colluded with the cartels. He needs to demand that people being arrested, prosecuted, and put in jail. That is the hope that we as Mexicans are praying that happens, because inside of Mexico, nothing is going to happen. No. There is no Second Amendment. The military controls everything. They're very, very embedded with the cartels. So only Trump is the one that can do something for Mexico for good.
I'd have to tell you, Carlos, I don't have any relatives or friends that live in Mexico, so I'm just a casual observer on this. But this is so clear to me. I don't know why it isn't to everybody else. I look at this and I'm like, I think the Mexican people, the ones who are just quiet, because I see people rise up and want to be mayor, want to be a judge, and then they're killed, and their families are killed, and then everybody around them is killed. And if that were me, that was happening in my town, I'd be like, please, dear Lord, somebody's got to step in. Something big has to happen. And that something big is the United States and Donald Trump saying, this is a scourge. And you know what? And all those people in the Mexican government, let's get rid of this scourge. And Mexico, you need to hold trials and we're not going to be the policeman there, but we're going to make it possible for you to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. I think the Mexican people would cheer if, they woke up one day and all these big cartels were just dead. Maybe that's just me, but I don't think so. I think it's you too, Carlos.
I have family in Mexico. I have friends that live in Sinaloa, and their teenager daughters and sons, they live with fear. They have to take classes online. They have to be just outside during the day. Then at night it's like a curfew. It's really, really bad. And again, nothing is going to happen from the inside. It has to come from the outside. And I hope President Trump does something with the cartels and name the corrupted officials in the Mexican government. So at least those names are in the public and people can do something about it.
Yeah.
The other thing, the media in Mexico is worse like in this country. In Mexico, Trump is evil, and then the United States is at fault for everything that happens in Mexico. So that is also another thing that is extremely, really bad in Mexico.
Carlos, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate your perspective. It's incredible to me that we're not seeing this for what it really is. And it's time for America to wake up on this. We have more at stake with Mexico than we have any place else, than Ukraine. We should be helping the Mexico. Why doesn't Mexico have clean water yet? Why is that possible? How can we have it on this side of the border? They got nothing. It doesn't make sense. It's corruption. All right, you know the phrase, that's how they get you. It's kind of sad how often that phrase comes up in everyday conversation when you think about it, because it's describing a very specific type of action, people separating you from your money in a clever and not so nice way that you didn't see coming. It's just one of the many reasons that I love American financing. They're not out to do anything but save you money. Not only are they the mortgage consultants that you'll be dealing with that are paid a salary, not a commission, so they're not incentivized to sell you anything. American financing itself doesn't charge you any upfront or hidden fees for their services. None. Zero. That's the kind of honesty that you just don't expect from a mortgage company. Call them right now. It's American Financing, 800-906-2440, 800-906-2440. It's AmericanFinancing.net.
NMLS 182334, NMLSConsumerAccess.org. APR for rates in the 5 starts at 6.799% for well-qualified borrowers. Call 800-906-2440 for details about credit costs and terms.
This is Glenn Beck.
Hey, the Kennedy papers are going to be released today at noon. What does this mean? What will we find? And what else should we release? All of that and so much more coming up in just a minute on the Glenn Beck program. You miss any of the program, make sure that you get it wherever you get your podcast or on blazetv.com.
This is Glenn Beck.